Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for Shippo Service Hours. We're excited to walk you through everything you need to know getting started with Shippo. Before we get started, just a quick housekeeping logistic. If you have any questions, we will be keeping an eye on the Q&A box, and we'll answer them live if we can, or either Leon or Sergio, if they are able to, will answer them in the Q&A box as we go along. That being said, we are going to try and get back to everyone's questions. However, because we don't have the tools or the time necessary to look into individual accounts. If it is an account specific question, we won't be able to get back to you today. However, if you type in your question, we will be able to see it and we can reach out later. Or if you just reach out to support@goshippo.com, we can help you there as well. Or if you log into your Shippo account, there is a chat button that you should be able to find. We are live right now. So if you need help, you can find our team online. Let's get started. Just a quick introduction to the team that's going to walk you through today. I'm Joanne. I'm essentially just going to guide everyone, and my two experts online, Sergio and Leon, will answer all of the questions that I have, that you guys may have as you get started shipping all of your cool products that you might be shipping. So let's have Sergio quickly introduce himself.
Thanks, Joe. So hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope holidays are going pretty good for everyone so far. Really appreciate all the people that are joining this webinar today. It's going to be super educational. We're going to try and make it as fun as possible, answer all your questions as well. So really quick about myself. My name's Sergio. I work on the sales team. I've been here for a little bit over a year. I work with Joe a lot. I work with Leon a lot. Really work with everyone on the team. I'm more of somewhat of a consultant here for a lot of our prospects. So I work with anybody from, some of our mom and pops, some of the smaller companies, all the way up to big enterprises, to some of our biggest prospects as well. So I really act as a consultant to learn about what people are doing with their shipping, offer recommendations that are either Shippo related or non-Shippo related, to make sure that we can make their lives easier. But ultimately the goal here is to utilize a platform like Shippo, because we're going to be able to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and just remove the headache from traditional shipping. So consider myself somewhat of an expert in the shipping and e-commerce world. So I'm excited to teach you guys a little bit more and hear your questions.
Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Leon. I've been at Shippo for a little bit over 9 months, but I've been in the e-commerce space for several years prior to that. And just echoing what Joe and Sergio said, we're really excited to have you here today. We understand the holiday season is one of the busiest times of the year, so we really want to thank you for being here. And we certainly understand that sometimes getting your packages from point A to point B isn't always exactly as easy as it sounds. So hopefully today we can provide a little bit of insight, maybe some tips and some tricks to help you with your process. And so we're going to be covering a lot today. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to answer them throughout the webinar. So with that being said, what do you think, Joe? Should we kick things off?
Let's do it. Let's kick things off with a quick overview of Shippo, since that's where we come from. That's what we do. That's what we live and breathe. Sergio, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So I will kind of explain what it is that we do. So Shippo specifically, I mentioned earlier, we remove the headache from traditional shipping. So some of the things that cause headache are time, are money. Those are like the two biggest things there. So what we do is we're going to save both of those things. What we're really designed for is we're designed to work with your online presence, work with your store, to provide you the access to get labels for those orders, so you can fulfill those orders, ultimately get some revenue, right? Make some money, make your customers happy, and then do it again. So as you see here on the screen, we have a few things: connect your store, print discounted shipping labels, track orders, manage and automate returns. We're going to give you the ability to connect your store if you have an online presence. I'm talking about Shopify, WooCommerce, Etsy, Amazon, whatever. If you don't have a store, we're going to dive into that a little bit later, but we still have options if you don't have an online presence or an e-commerce platform. Then we're going to give you the ability to print discounted shipping labels. You're not going to get retail prices with Shippo. You're going to get special pricing that is heavily discounted that would otherwise take a long time for you to establish on your own. Then once you printed those labels, we're going to give you the ability to track the orders. We're going to give you the ability to see where your items are at, where your orders are at for your customers, provide your customers with updates, and give them insight into all of your orders. So not only do we give you an orders page, we give you a shipments page so you can track and manage everything that's gone out, that's been delivered, or maybe in transit. And then obviously the worst thing, returns, we give you the ability, if it comes down to that, to manage and automate returns. So we're going to give you the ability to not only create return labels for the orders, but provide you an option that is proactive. So you can provide return labels automatically with every order before anything happens. Worst comes to worst, we're going to give you those return labels for your customers to put inside the box so they have nothing to worry about. So this is almost an end-to-end solution from orders coming in all the way up to the worst case scenario, getting a return, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to save you time, we're going to save you money, and remove the headache.
Thanks, Serge. And we started Shippo service hours because what we noticed during COVID, or during this 2020 very interesting year, is that a ton of customers just started coming online and had very I wouldn't say basic, but not a lot of people had the expertise to really get started. And there's some things that you just don't know you needed to do in order to get started, even before you got onto Shippo. So we wanted to help all of our small businesses by addressing those questions. So we'll break it down in sort of a step-by-step process here with Leon and Sergio. So let's get started. One of the very first questions that I had when I was learning about the space and starting to understand what our customers did was, how do you ship things? Like, what do you ship things in? What is the best packaging that I should be using? And for that, I'm going to go back to Sergio, who's going to walk us through packaging.
Cool. And really, before I get started, everyone here, please make sure to submit your questions only in the Q&A and not the chat. It's very, very hard for us to lose track of those questions in the chat. In the Q&A, we can make sure that we answer them and that they're taken care of. In the chat, they can disappear and we might not answer them. So please, only in the Q&A. So getting back on track here, how do I choose my packaging? Probably the first question you're going to ask once you've established everything, once you've created your brand, once you've created your website, once you have your products in, and then you start getting orders, right? This is exciting. You've got orders, you want to start shipping. How do I choose my packaging? This is really going to come down to a few simple things. You really want to think about, what is it that I'm shipping? We have every type of customer using Shippo, from clothing lines to candles, to custom glass ornaments, everything from things that can be tossed around to things that are very, very fragile. And that's the first thing I wanted to cover. What is it that you're shipping? Do these items need to be safe? Do they need to have extra padding? Can they just go in any type of box? Can they go in a poly mailer? You want to determine that, because if safety is important, and this item cannot get broken by any circumstance, yes, you're not going to want to send these things in a padded envelope or a poly mailer. You're going to want an actual box and maybe some buffer in the box. So whether it's packing peanuts, whether it's extra cardboard material, or even styrofoam, something like that, you're going to want to make sure that these items are safe. So if it comes down to that and your items are fragile and you're shipping out, yes, you're going to want to go with boxes. But clothing, for example, which is huge. We have a ton of clothing lines that are using Shippo. Boxes, it's almost never going to make sense. Even if you're sending out a bunch of items, it's almost never going to make sense, because boxes tend to get a little bit heavier. Also, for your pocket in general, packaging is expensive. I want to say if you're purchasing or using poly mailers, padded envelopes, things of that nature, those are going to be roughly 4 times cheaper in comparison to boxes. So if you're sending out shirts, if you're sending out socks, I mean, 99.999% of the time, you're going to want to use poly mailers. Again, you're going to save money yourself on the actual material. And then also the actual shipping itself is going to be cheaper because in turn, those rates are going to be cheaper because the package is lighter. Then another cool thing is space. If you have 4, 5, 10 boxes, that's taking up a big amount of space in your business or in your home. Poly mailers, I mean, you could stack those things to the moon. You'll have a million of them. So you want to really make sure what it is that I'm shipping. If it qualifies for a poly mailer, you're going to want to go ahead and do that. If not, if you need to go with boxes, totally fine, get boxes. And then another thing you want to think about, which we'll take a deeper dive, is, what rates am I using? What service levels, right? Because if you're shipping out things that are going to go under flat rate, you're not going to have options. USPS flat rates, you have to use their branded material. And then the other way around too, if you want to utilize that service level, it has to be their branded boxes. So if you figure out, and again, we'll figure out if flat rate makes sense to you a little bit later, but if flat rate makes sense to you, then yes, you can go to a USPS local branch or even USPS online, and you can get these materials for free. So going back to what I was saying about cost in your pocket, if you're using flat rates and it makes sense, you're most likely not going to pay for the packaging itself because it's free through the carriers. And then again, when you're purchasing packaging, even if you're not super high volume, you're going to want to try and buy in bulk or as much bulk that makes sense to you in your business. Places like Uline are great. You're going to be paying, not pennies, but quarters or something like that for these boxes, as opposed to going into a UPS store, going into a big box Target or a big box Walmart and spending. You're going to want to buy in bulk. Eventually, you're hoping to utilize all of those boxes and materials, but that's another thing that you really want to think about. So yeah, kind of recapping here is it's the answer to that question is really going to be determined by what you're shipping. And then also, are they perishable? The items that you're sending, are you sending food? Are you sending, drinks that are perishable? Flat rates might be a little bit better. Expedited rates might be a little bit better. And then once you go into that segment, then again, you're going to be focusing on the packaging that is coming directly from the carrier. So items really depends on what you're shipping. And a good rule of thumb here with packaging, just in general, is going to be lighter and smaller. So whatever it is that you're shipping, you're going to kind of want to shape it to those items and make sure that your end packages are as small as possible and as light as possible, because your rates will be cheaper for you, which means they're going to be cheaper for your customers. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Serge. You mentioned it already. It was going to be my next question. Dimensions and weight obviously are a huge factor for packages, but they are also a huge factor in costs along with destination. Can you walk us through how you mitigate for those costs?
Yeah, so minimizing costs, this is super important. And the reason why is because going into your store, I'm assuming a lot of people that are here today are either new or they've only been around for a little bit, or maybe they're even going to launch very soon. And going into your business, going into e-commerce, a lot of people tend to start losing money. They're immediately losing money on shipping because they don't know which service levels to use. They also don't know which carriers to use. So it's very important to dial this in. And you're going to kind of, trial and error, trial by fire. Things are going to happen. You're not going to dial it in on day one. Don't get discouraged. It is going to take some time to dial in your options and your rates to really be optimized and to be charging the appropriate rates. So you want to make sure that you're using the right service levels. This is very important. The chart is a little cut off here, but we have some very important highlights. We have our flat rates on the top, and then we have our first class on the bottom. One really big thing about flat rate, I would say like some pros, are that the pricing, it's always the same. The pricing is always going to be the same. It's not going to vary by location. It's not going to vary by weight. As long as it's under 70 pounds, it's not going to vary. So you can go in with a flat rate, having confidence that this price that you see, you can confidently charge your customer that same price and know that it's aligned. And then also in some cases, if you're dealing with heavy items, the flat rate is going to be beneficial and it's going to save you some money. But then on the lower end, you see their first class, you see a chart, you see a worst case scenario on the bottom right. I think it's 570 there. 570 first class is going to be your worst case scenario in those segments there, anywhere from 1 to 15.99 ounces, regardless of zone. That's going to be your worst case. So if you fall under that criteria, you really want to think about this, because I have worked with people that are sending, half-pound packages and I want to go flat rate envelope. No, at no point will a flat rate option be cheaper than any first class option. So if you're shipping things that qualify for first class, that's going to be your way to go. Unfortunately, it is going to vary and you're going to want to charge appropriately, or you can kind of do a worst case, best case scenario. But that's really one thing to really think about when you're trying to minimize costs, is if you're shipping very, very light items, flat rate will almost never make sense. And excuse me. And then on the other side, there's going to be a lot of times when you have to use flat rate. If you're using a priority rate and you're shipping something that's, I don't know, 15, 17 pounds, 20 pounds, if it fits in one of these boxes, a small flat rate, a medium flat rate, or even a large flat rate, you're going to want to go flat rate, because the worst case scenario, large flat rate, you're paying $18.30. So if it fits in a flat rate box and your priority mail is going to be more expensive, go flat rate. And this is a very good recommendation here to test. You're going to want to test. Sign up for a free Shippo account. You can get rates for free. It does not cost any money to run rates either on our calculator on our website or in your Shippo account. Run some rates, do some samples, send some stuff across the coast, see what it's going to cost, get that figure, compare it to these flat rates, and see what makes sense. So minimizing costs is all about testing, dialing it in, taking a few weeks to figure out what works, and then go ahead and choose. And the very important thing here, the rule of thumb when we're talking about flat rates in general, with flat rates, if you're shipping something very, very far and it's on the heavier side, 8, 9 plus 10 pounds, you're going to want to go flat rate. It's almost always going to be beneficial. But if you're shipping something within the state, within the county, maybe a zone away or two, and it's super, super light, flat rate is probably going to be wasting a little bit of money. But these are all just rules of thumb to really, really be sure. Use our calculator on our website on goshippo.com/pricing. You'll see USPS calculator, and then also sign up for free. We're free until January 19th. Go ahead and make an account, run some rates, write them down, make your own chart, and then you can plug this onto your store and not lose any money, okay?
Agreed. Definitely test out your rates. And Shippo makes it super easy for you to do that. My next question here, given just the environment that we are in, is how you avoid not going to the carrier, and like how do you actually get your packages out at this point once you have the box that you want, the rates that you've charged, and for this I'm going to go to Leon.
Yeah, now that Sergio has taught us which box to use, and we've got a label printed, it's on the box. I think naturally the next question is, how do I get this to where it needs to go? Can I just drop it off at the carrier office, or can I schedule a pickup? And the good news is you can do both. So anytime you have a prepaid Shippo label, you can just drop off your package at the carrier without any additional charge. Please keep in mind that if you buy a USPS label, you have to drop it off at the USPS office, and likewise with UPS. And so obviously we can drop it off at the office, at the post office itself. But given the current landscape of things, as Joe mentioned, with COVID-19 and us wanting to avoid lines at the post office, you can schedule a pickup with USPS and DHL directly through Shippo. And the way you do that is you go to your Shipments tab to schedule this pickup. One thing to note, though, is when you do schedule a pickup, it can take anywhere from 12 to 36 hours for this to happen. So if you have a package that needs to go out today, it's very time sensitive. I would recommend going to the post office yourself and dropping it off personally. On that subject of getting your packages picked up, if you're shipping out more than 5 USPS packages, you'll be required to fill out what we call a scan or a manifest form. And what this basically is, it's just a single sheet of paper with a barcode that contains information about all of your packages. So instead of when the post worker comes in, picks up your packages, instead of scanning each individual package, they just scan one barcode and they'll pick up all those packages and you're good to go. This will save them a lot of time, save you a lot of time. Just a great process overall. And so you can fill out a scan form or a manifest form after you have created your labels. This is a very important thing to note. You have to create your labels first, and then you can fill out a scan or a manifest form. And just like scheduling a pickup, you can do this right within your Shipments tab. One last thing to note is that if you're creating a scan form, you have to create that form on the same day you're creating your labels. So as an example, if you have 10 packages that are going out today and you have 10 packages that are going out tomorrow, you'll need to fill out a scan or manifest form for today and one for tomorrow. And to sum it up, there's two ways that your packages can get where it needs to go. You can drop it off at the carrier office, or you can schedule a pickup right within Shippo's app.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. And, when you are sending out packages to various locations, lots of different things could happen to those packages. And so we recommend insurance, and you can do that right in Shippo as well. Leon, walk us through that.
Right. And, Joe, as we're in the midst of the holiday season, vendors, they typically sell stuff that are more expensive or maybe just time sensitive. And so when it comes to that, you really want to protect yourself as the merchant, and you want to protect your buyers should the package get damaged, lost, stolen, or just arrive late, right? And so Shippo and our carrier partners, we do provide insurance options. But before I get into Shippo specific insurance, I'd like to cover one thing about USPS Priority Mail or Priority Mail Express. So if you're shipping with USPS Priority Mail or Priority Mail Express, you'll automatically get up to $100 of coverage free of charge, just automatically applied. Now, if you're shipping with a different carrier or you're shipping something that's over $100, you can add additional coverage right within Shippo. And so we've partnered with Shipsurance, which is one of the top insurers in the industry when it comes to parcel packages. And they're the top for a reason. They're extremely quick when it comes to turnarounds and your claims, because they put you as a customer first, because they understand exactly just how important and how meaningful each package is for your business, especially during this holiday season. And so the way Shipsurance works is they work directly with your carrier. So whether it's USPS, UPS, DHL, it's the same easy and quick claims process. So for each label you are creating in Shippo, as you see on the screen here, you'll have an option to add insurance just by clicking the button there and just filling out a few fields. And you can add up to $10,000 worth of coverage on your packages. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wow, this sounds amazing. What's the catch? What's it going to cost me? Well, it's going to cost you either 1% or 1.25% of the total coverage amount. So for example, if you have a package that's insured for $100, it's going to cost you either $1 or $1.25. And the difference between that depends on which plan you're on. So it's going to be 1% for the professional plan and 1.25% for the pay-as-you-go plan. And so if you're shipping a lot of packages that require insurance, for example, jewelry companies, electronic companies, utilizing the Pro plan and adding insurance through that will save you a lot of money in the long run. And so just to wrap that up, to add insurance, very, very easy. You go into your shipments option on the order level, and you'll see that option to add. You fill it out, and you're good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. And then we've already mentioned a couple of them throughout the presentation, but what's great about Shippo is that you're able to take advantage of multiple carriers, access to multiple carriers, and not have to go from one site to another and manage, having to go from those different places. I'm going to have Sergio walk us through how you can optimize your process and your shipping process across multiple carriers.
Yeah, so this is one of the big benefits of using Shippo in general, is that we offer multiple carriers. So not going to name any names, but there are competitors out there that only offer specific carriers. They'll say, yeah, come join us. We only offer USPS, or we only offer UPS. We have a few that are online right now. We offer discounted USPS, discounted UPS, and then discounted DHL Express, with DHL Express being only for international. But that doesn't mean that you can't ship international with USPS and UPS. You can ship international with everyone, but DHL is only for international. We also just launched LSO, called it Lone Star Overnight, which is a carrier that is for the South region of the US. So Texas, Alabama, I believe, Louisiana, I want to say. And then pretty soon in the future, we'll offer some more carriers with more discounts. That way, again, we can optimize because all of these carriers have a specialty. So, which is a pretty good, that's, I'm glad I kind of transitioned into that because every carrier here has a specialty, right? Some people like to say, hey, I want to deal with this carrier, I want to deal with that carrier only, but it's very, very important to deal with all the carriers because each carrier is going to provide some type of specific value to you and your customers. So getting into the more common ones, which are USPS and UPS, their specialties, right? Let's start with UPS. UPS is a carrier that's more focused on items that need to get somewhere promptly, on items that are larger, on items that are heavier. So they're going to offer better rates for those types of items. And then they're also going to offer transit time guarantees. So if you are getting a service level from UPS and it's next day air early, it's guaranteed to arrive by a certain time. When you're utilizing the rates in USPS, there is an estimated transit time, but with USPS, there's no guarantee that it's going to get to a certain location on a certain day or a certain time. So if you have items that promptly need to get somewhere, for example, perishables, you know that it can only last 2 days on a truck. You know that you want to get a service level through UPS. And let's say that box is 20 pounds and you know it's a 15 by 15 by 15. That's a specialty for UPS because if you try and get that same package and run a rate through USPS, it's going to be much, much higher, astronomically different. It's going to be probably more than double the rate because getting into USPS's specialty, USPS, the Postal Service, they're designed for items, packages, orders that are smaller in size, that are lighter in size, and that may not be traveling too far. They're going to offer some of the better, cheaper rates, especially for items that are under a pound. If your items are under a pound and they don't need to be guaranteed the next day by 8 a.m., USPS, again, 99.9% of the time is going to be the better bet. So what's very important on optimization here is having these carriers available. People tend to go into their settings, look at the carriers, and then turn off one that they're either not familiar with or they don't like. In Shippo, the process, don't worry about it. The process is going to be the same. Excuse me. The process when creating a label, you're going to get a UPS label exactly the same way you get a USPS label. The only little difference there is you have to take a UPS package to UPS. USPS, you have to take it to USPS, or you can schedule them to come pick it up. So you want to make sure you have these on because we're going to do the work for you. When you have an order that goes into Shippo and you have all the information, the weights and dimensions, the location, where it's at, you're going to get the cheapest rate unless otherwise specified. So Shippo, what we're going to do is we're going to pick the cheapest rate for you unless you need to change it to something quicker or unless you have a default service level set in. But a lot of people, a lot of customers, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for cost savings. So you want to make sure you have all of these different carriers turned on so we can do the work for you. And we're going to choose the cheapest rate because you will see if you go down and click on the drop down on your different service levels, you'll see how opposite USPS and UPS can be, right? And then going back to DHL, which we don't talk about too much. Again, DHL, you'll see DHL rates pop up when you enter an address outside of the US. And DHL is really important because they're like the scrappy type of carrier. So DHL, you know that they're going to deliver your item, and then you also know that they're going to be able to go almost anywhere. I can't tell you how many times I've ran rates in Shippo and shipped to a very uncommon area in the world, and DHL is the only option because USPS or UPS, they have no infrastructure there. So again, DHL as well, you're thinking, I don't use DHL, it's only for international. It's no harm to have all of these carriers turned on because one day DHL might be the winner. And in general, just putting them all together there's not going to be a clear winner 100% of the time. So you want to make sure that you're not missing out on a rate that's either the price you need or the transit time you need. So by having all of these carriers on, you're going to see sometimes USPS is the winner, sometimes UPS is the winner, sometimes DHL is the winner. So you don't want to miss out on that. It's very, very important to have all of these carriers active. So optimizing is pretty easy. It's just about accepting all of these carriers into your platform and utilizing them. I know everyone's had a bad experience with UPS. I know everyone's had a bad experience with USPS, but things happen. The carriers are somewhat prone to mistakes. you are going to run into a mistake here and there with all these carriers. There isn't any data exactly that shows that one is astronomically more terrible than the other, or this one is that much better than the other. They may have rates. Again, they have specialties. And another side note, that's really it for optimization. But another side note is with our accounts, we're going to offer some cool benefits. With UPS, we're going to waive any residential fees, and we're going to waive any fuel surcharges. So this is a thing really to think about. You may have a UPS account that offers discounts, but think about that. Do they waive the residential fees? Do they waive the fuel surcharges? I've seen some cases where the rate is cheaper than Shippo's, but after you add on those surcharges, we actually came out on top. So very important, because those things otherwise can take you, the customer, either years or super, super high volume to negotiate these types of offerings and discounts from the carriers. So very important to, first step, utilize a company like Shippo, because over the last 6-7 years, we've done the work. We've negotiated with these carriers to provide you guys, regardless of volume, these discounts. So again, recapping, utilize the platform, utilize the carriers. Don't miss out.
Thanks, Sergio. And one of the biggest things that we've seen kind of grow at Shippo during this 2020 is international. We were really big, obviously, on domestic shipments. A lot of our carriers do that, but DHL Express has started to be utilized a little bit more. And for that, I'm going to have Leon walk us through international deliveries and kind of the requirements around that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Joe. And I see a lot of people interested in international delivery. So if you've shipped internationally or you're interested in shipping internationally, can I just see a yes in the chat box? In the chat box, please, not the Q&A one, just to clear that up. So if you have shipped internationally, I just want to see who has. Just reply with a simple yes. But yeah, so when it comes to international delivery, it can be a little bit daunting with all of the paperworks. And it could be a little bit confusing. So I came up with a little nursery rhyme to help you remember what you have to do when it comes to international delivery. So if your package is going overseas or crossing borders, please fill out a customs declaration for these orders. And what I basically mean by that is if your package is going overseas or crossing borders, even if it's to our friendly neighbor up there in Canada, you will need to fill out a customs and declarations form. What this form basically is it's a sheet that includes info about your package, the country of origin, the country destination, the cost of the item, etc. And so anyone who has shipped internationally from the post office probably shares the same sentiment that with all of this paperwork, it can be a little bit confusing. Which fields am I supposed to fill out? Which fields am I supposed to leave blank? Well, Shippo makes filling out this paperwork extremely easy. So we really remove that confusing part of the process for you. And so there's a few ways that this can work. So if you're selling on an e-commerce platform and we see that you have an international package, right, international order, I should say, we'll automatically source that information from your e-commerce store and have it automatically filled out in Shippo. Really, really easy. Now, I know some of you may not be on an e-commerce platform yet. Well, that's not an issue whatsoever. You can create a label using the Create a Label button or use a CSV upload, and you can just add the item information and your package is good to go. Shippo will tell you exactly which fields you need to fill out. So it's really, really easy. I can't stress this enough. It's not as confusing as, it normally is. And that's because Shippo has done the dirty work for you. We understand exactly what you need to fill out depending on the country it's going to. So we just make it easy for you. One thing to note is that when you are shipping a order internationally, you will need to pay taxes and duties on this. And there is no way to charge or figure out this charge before your package arrives, as this charge occurs after the package arrives in the country that you're sending it to. And the way this works is you can either be billed for it as the sender, or you can have your recipients be billed for this customs duties and taxes. And so if you are billed for it, if you as a sender are billed for it, that's called GDP. And if you want the recipient to be billed for this, It's called DDU. And so just to sum this all up, filling out custom and declarations paperwork can be very, very confusing, but it's not using Shippo. We have great discounts with international carriers, as Joe and Sergio both have mentioned. So if you have a package that needs to go out internationally, Shippo is the way to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. And then on top of kind of all of the basic features that we've got a couple more to help you manage your shipping a little bit better with your customers. And for that, one of the cool things that I really like is when I get a notification that something that I ordered has been shipped. I immediately am like, where's my email? And is my thing coming soon? We allow for notifications in Shippo as well, and Leon will walk us through that.
Yeah, Joe, I think we all share the same sentiment when we place an order online. We want to know when it's coming. Has this order been confirmed? Which carrier is it coming with? When do I know it's going to come? And so one of the amazing things about Shippo is that anytime you create a label, a tracking number will automatically be associated with your order, which you can then send to your customers. And there's two ways to essentially send out tracking notifications to your customers. The first way is through your e-commerce platform. So whether you're on Shopify, WooCommerce, or what have you, Shippo will source this information about the shipment and the tracking number back into your e-commerce platform so that this is communicated with your customers. You can set this up to go out automatically. And the second way is that you can send out these notifications in Shippo. As long as you have the email address, you can send out these notifications at the time when you're creating the label, as well as when the package is actually delivered. So all the way through, full process. And the way you can go about this is you can trigger them to go off automatically, or you can send them out yourself. So if you're sending out tracking notifications in Shippo, one thing to note is you will have the option to brand these tracking notification pages with your logo. And you can do this under your settings tab, under branding. So just to sum it all up, when you can send out tracking notifications in two ways, through your e-commerce platform or right within Shippo.
Awesome. Thanks, Leon. And then I'm going to come right back to you to walk us through returns. I don't return things that often, but some businesses operate on returns, and it's really cool that Shippo is able to handle them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, returns can be sometimes tricky and even sometimes unpleasant for both the merchants and the customers. But it doesn't have to be, because Shippo makes returns extremely, extremely easy. When you have a simple returns process, it really enhances your customer's experience and it incentivizes them to shop with you again. For example, with clothes companies, if I buy a shirt online, it comes to my doorstep, I try it on, but it doesn't fit. I'm going to want to return it. And if the returns process is very complicated, the next time I go look for a shirt online, I'm probably not going to buy from this business again. And so having a really simple returns process can do wonders for your business. And so when it comes to returns, Shippo has you covered in two ways. The first way to simplify your returns process is to completely automate this by automatically creating a return label with your outbound packages. These labels are called scan-based return labels, meaning you don't have to pay for the label unless the customer uses this. And a great example of this is Nike. If anyone has shopped from Nike, and I have an example here, they include this return label. I don't know if you can see it here. Okay, you can't see it, but they do include a return label, which is scan-based. They don't get charged for it unless you use it, so that you can really automate this return process and make it really simple for your customers. Now, the other way to generate a return label is on a one-off basis, and you can create these single return labels directly from your orders dashboard. So if you look here on the screen, you click on the drop down, the little arrow, and you'll be able to create a return label just like that. And I know I mentioned there's only two ways that you can handle returns, but I want to provide a bonus way for you. So if you're using a returns platform like Return Magic or Ready Returns, you can integrate our shipping rates, our discounted shipping rates, I should say, directly into those platforms by copying and pasting our API key. And this will allow you to use our discounted rates in your portal. And if you'd like more information on how to set this up, just shoot us an email after this webinar and we'll help you out. And again, I know I covered a lot on this topic, so if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box.
Awesome. Thank you, Leon. And at this point, we actually went through all the step-by-step pieces to what you need to think about when you are starting to ship. But there is one pretty important piece to really get started in Shippo, or to just get started in sending out your packages in general. And it's to get your orders up somewhere. And for that, I'm going to go back to Sergio to walk us through connecting your store or getting your orders in Shippo.
Cool. Thanks, Joe. So connecting your store, this is very crucial if you want some automation, if you want to make your life easier. If you are on a storefront, if you're utilizing an e-commerce platform, you're going to want to you have to connect your store into Shippo, unless there's a very specific reason why it just won't work. But it's super easy. So there's a couple of ways of going about this. There's one if you have an account, and there's another if you are new, if you have not created an account. So the easier method, if you have not created an account, and maybe you're going to create one after this, I hope you do, you're going to go start your account, and it's going to walk you through the process. It's going to ask you, are you on a store currently? And then if you say yes, it's going to ask you to pick which store. If it's a store that is supported, it will walk you through the process to get connected. It's going to give you all of the steps. It's going to ask for all the information. And then not only that, but it's going to tell you how to access that specific information from the store. So it's going to walk you through, Shopify, Amazon, Wix, Square, Etsy, Magento. We do support, most of the major e-commerce platforms out there. There are some here and there that are somewhat popular that we don't support, but we are hoping to support the majority of them in the future. But some of the bigger players in the game we do support. So if you're just starting out and creating an account, we will walk you through it. If you've already created an account and you have not connected your store, it is very easy. The GIF right here that's on the screen is walking through it. If you go to settings and then you go to stores, on the top right, it's going to say connect store. And then you're going to be presented with all those stores. You find your store, click on it, and then it's going to walk you through. For the most part, the e-commerce platforms, they're just going to ask you for a username, password, or email password, and then maybe permissions. A few here and there are going to ask for more complicated things like an API key, whether it's an API key that you get from Shippo or an API key that you get from the store. It's going to ask you for that, but don't be afraid if you don't know what that is. We will give you full instructions on what it is, how to get it, and where to put it. So once you have an account and you connect it through there, you're going to get confirmation if the connection is successful. If the connection is successful, when you go to your settings and stores, you will see the store just like it is right there. You'll see Shopify and it'll say disconnect. Amazon, disconnect. If you see that you have the option to disconnect the store, that means that the store is connected. So very simple. Now, we have clients of all sorts. We have clients that are utilizing a platform like the ones we mentioned. We have other clients that have a custom website. They've created their own e-commerce platform. And then we also have customers that use an antiquated system, or they have an e-commerce platform that we do not support. So for those people that have something that's either custom or that we don't support, we do have a few options. We have the more technical option, which is connecting through our API. We're not going to get into too much detail what an API is. Just think of an API as something that allows a connection between one platform or website or source of data to another. So our API platform would give you the ability to get our code that makes up Shippo to create a connection between Shippo and something that we don't have a direct connection with. So for any of those technical people that are on the webinar today, we do have an API that's available to make a connection with your custom system. If you don't want to go that route, we do still have options. So we have the option of either exporting from your store and importing a CSV into Shippo. That way all those orders appear in Shippo as if you did have a connection. And then worst case scenario is we have an option to create manual labels. So let's say you get emails for orders. Let's say you get phone calls. Maybe people walk in and say, hey, I want you to ship this to my grandson. Cool. We can do that. We give you the option to create a manual order, a manual label from Shippo without anything. A lot of people ask, do I need an e-commerce platform? I don't have an online store. Can I be a Shippo customer? Yes, 100%. Even if you're not a retailer, even if you don't ship normal items like clothing or candles, etc., we have a solution for you. We have a solution for everyone. So to connect the store, very simple. The Shippo settings we'll walk you through, and we have a ton of resources online. If you Google connect my store Shippo, we have a ton of videos, a ton of resources that will show you how. But again, that doesn't make sense. We have an API. We have the option to upload a CSV file. So if you organize all your orders on Excel or Google Sheets, you can export that as a CSV, or maybe you're on like Walmart or something. Walmart, we don't have an integration. You can export all those orders onto a file, upload it. And then again, worst case scenario, you need to just make an order because you have a system that doesn't make sense with anything that I mentioned. You can create a manual label. And those manual labels are for anything. Maybe you have a replacement part for someone, or maybe it's a non-business related shipment and you just want to send something to a relative. You can still utilize Shippo to create those raw labels. So don't worry. Again, if you still need help on connecting store, you can find a lot of good resources on our website to get that connection going, okay?
Awesome. Thank you. So that is pretty much it. We walked through all the little steps that you have to take in order to get set up online. There's, of course, a ton of other things that you can think about when you are setting up Shippo, and we are live online. If you have any questions, just log into your Shippo account and you'll find chat options in there. And then if you just want to email us, just email us at support@goshippo.com. I can't see the questions, but I see that Leon and Sergio have been answering them throughout our conversation today. I don't know if you guys want to answer any live right now that you see on the Q&A boxes.
Yeah.
So jump in if you do.
Yeah, we'll answer. We'll try and answer. I mean, there's only 3. We'll answer those for sure. We'll get a few that come in, and we'll just have we'll decide a hard stop maybe in like 5 minutes or so. But yeah, we'll just jump into the Q&A that's posted here. So we'll answer them all live. David, do you beat eBay prices? So eBay prices for USPS, full transparency, our prices will be exactly the same. They will not beat us on pricing, but we're just going to offer much more because eBay obviously is just for eBay. If you ship on other sources, if you want other carriers, we're going to be able to offer that. Also things like automations, AI, we have that on our side. We are a shipping platform. So although we will have the same prices for USPS, we're going to offer a much better solution overall when it comes to shipping. Okay. Rami, so how do you charge end customers like us? Is monthly? Yep, very simple. We can either charge you a flat monthly fee based on your volume, or if you don't want a monthly fee, we do have a pay-as-you-go plan where you only pay 5 cents per label. You're just missing out on customization, which is just customer customization, logo, color scheme, social networks, and then also support. With that pay-as-you-go, you only get email support. There's no live chat support. So 5 cents per label on pay-as-you-go, or Pro could be anywhere from $10 to $125. Highly recommend opening up an account right now, getting Pro, because it is free until January 19th. Nothing to worry about. You're only paying for postage. If it doesn't work, cancel it. Go to pay-as-you-go on January 19th, okay? Zarina, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're asking when you said £1. I need some additional consultation to start. Zarina, I'm going to send you in a sec right here. I'm going to send you a link to a video that I created. It's a 10-minute video that covers everything from the inception of the account to shipping to your customer. I'll let Leon answer Chad here, but I will send you over that link right now. Okay.
Let's see. Do we have additional questions here? Take a second to populate. Is there a process for disputing carrier adjustments, particular USPS? Sergio, what do you think about this one?
I think, I can jump into this one. I think these are, I'm assuming, surcharges. If you have, if you want to clarify in the chat or in the Q&A, we can totally help with that. But I'm assuming that the carrier measured different dimensions or weights for your package. We can help with the dispute. If you email support@goshippo.com, we have partnerships with the carriers directly to kind of check in and see what that charge was. So if you email us, let us know which package it is that you got a surcharge for. We can take a look on our side.
All right, next question. Thanks for that, Joe. Next question from Sandra. If shipping through FedEx, will the thank you email / shipment confirmation come from FedEx or Shippo? How do we set that up if it's Shippo? So to set this up in Shippo, you would just go to your settings tab, and under notifications, you'll be able to turn it on. So there's two options. You can send out a notification when your label is created, and you can send out a notification when the package is actually delivered. And you can do this again through settings and then notifications.
And if you go to support.goshippo.com, there is an article up on there as well that guides you through it. Just search for notifications and you should see that there as well.
Yeah, and really quick, I'm gonna post a video in the chat, not in the Q&A, in the chat. I'm gonna post a getting started video that yours truly made. It's 10 minutes long. It's a full getting started video. It answers a ton, probably covers more than what we even did here because it's very, very specific as far as like purchasing labels and utilizing the platform. So it's here in the chat for anybody that's curious as far as getting started or just wants more of an in-depth demo. That link that I just posted right there, make sure to click on that and check it out, okay? For anybody that wants more info.
And Sean, I see your question here. We'll have to look into the account a little bit more, and we can't do that live. But if you reach out to support@goshippo.com, they're actually in chat right now, or my team is on chat right now, so you should see them on there, and you can ask them directly. They should be able to help you.
And really quick, sorry, I posted the chat to the panelists, not to the attendees. Sean, the dimensions, if you're talking about the dimensions of the box from Square, those will not carry over into Shippo. They're not supposed to. None of the platforms will do that. Shopify, Amazon, the only thing that comes sometimes at certain platforms is going to be the weight. But if you have the dimensions in Square, it is not supposed to carry into Shippo. That's why you're not seeing it. But you can create templates in Shippo to recognize the item or the weight to apply the package. So if it's coming in as a bicycle and you know the bicycle is a 5x5x5, you have the option in the template and the automations to apply that package. But yeah, it's working properly, unfortunately.
I missed the dimensions part. Sorry. Thanks for clarifying, Sergio.
No worries, no worries. So Ron, my e-commerce is not listed on your site. I use Fitted. How do I add my site? So we mentioned this earlier. If you don't have something supported, you can either utilize our API or you can export and import a CSV file of those orders from Fitted. So you can get that CSV file from Fitted and upload it into Shippo. But yeah, we definitely don't have a direct integration with them. So those would be your options, okay? And we'll take the last ones marked at 11:55. We'll use those last ones. Michelle, do you need to upgrade to split shipments to only send part of the order? So split shipments, it's an interesting question. Splitting at the moment, we only offer order splitting in Shippo if you utilize Shopify. The other carriers, we're hoping to launch those pretty soon, but Shopify is the only platform that you can utilize where you'll be able to split orders in Shippo. There's options with a platform to add a plugin to do the splitting for you beforehand. That way we recognize it appropriately. But yeah, we don't have any upgrade option to offer order splitting. You have to be on Shopify. Do you want to take some here, Leon? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. All right, question from Dave. Will you send me your first class rates by weight and ounce? Yes, just drop your email and I'll send that to you. Sandra, do I have to connect my FedEx account to Shippo? Yes, you do, Sandra. In order to see FedEx rates in your account, you will need to connect your personal FedEx account. How are the discounts applied with FedEx? So those will be your rates that you have negotiated with FedEx or that you have directly with them. And those are the rates that will be imported into Shippo. David, is it cheaper to send by non-bubble wrap envelope? Generally speaking, bubble wrap packaging will be cheaper than box packaging, but it really depends on what you're sending. Let's see. Brittany, is there a video on further information concerning shipping price for first class? I'm having a hard time figuring out what to charge for shipping. Brittany, if you drop your email in the chat, I will send you our rate card. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and we'll help you out. We'll help you figure out the best rate for your packages.
Awesome. I think we got everyone there. Thank you both for answering all of the questions today and walking us through all of the steps that you have to take in order to really get started to shipping all of your stuff to all the awesome customers that you've got. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. And yeah, that's it. Happy shipping.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Happy holidays.
Bye, everyone.